When building a company, you need all executives from your board downward, CEO, CFO, CTO, Chief Product Officer, Chief Marketing Officer, to buy in to the scaling plans and the go-to-market strategy of your business. Not until do you have this end-to-end executive buy-in should you double down on sales scaling. So what do we mean by this, and why is it important? Executive buy-in is this full agreement and trust in the product or service you've cultivated by all of management. Does everyone believe that there is a market, an audience, a customer base to go be had? And if so, it's time to put your fuel into the car and go for it. Your team really needs to believe that you have this product ready to be sold in a market willing to buy. Are you ready to sell over and over and over again? I call this the point and shoot of a go-to-market. And if everybody believes, then all hands on deck to go make that happen. Critically, though, you also need someone at the helm, accountable to the go-to-market plans, to the strategy, to the execution, to the KPI setting, making sure that we're hitting goals. Founders in the very beginning of startups, especially in the software as a service industry, typically are the ones selling the first handful, dozen, 2 dozen of accounts. That works for a while, but for companies to really scale to millions of ARR, tens of millions of ARR, 100 million ARR, you're going to need to build a sales apparatus. Having a VP of sales, a head of sales, a chief revenue officer, depending upon your company, who has the expertise clearly in functional sales leadership, but also in your market and industry and stage, is critical to success. You need to find that someone specific for building, someone with that startup DNA. A great example of this was actually myself. Back in 2008, I had an interview with a company called Dyn. At the time, Dyn was 15 engineers, a couple founders, a couple million of ARR, all sold through the website. But truly and strongly believed they had a B2B opportunity in the domain name DNS space, domain name system space. When I went into my interview with Tom Daly, CTO and co-founder of Dyn, the first thing he did is he walked in with a book. Heck, 300-400 page book at that, called DNS in Bind, written by Cricket Lou and Paul Albitz. I'd come to learn that Cricket Lou was one of the godfathers of the domain name system, one of the foremost experts of the space, chief architect at a company called Infoblox. My response was simple. If I read that book, I'll be the worst sales guy in the world. There's no way I was ever going to understand the complete intricacies of the technology of the DNS, which is an internet protocol, or a Bind, the open source software that 85% of the world's domain names were managed upon. Tom, on the other hand, our CTO, was an expert. He was a software engineer, an electrical engineer. He knew how to build technology and capability in the DNS space. It was my job to understand the market, find those repeatable use cases, build a business value prop for the customers. That yin and yang on day one was one of the foundational learnings that Tom and I had of each other, and something that I very much credit for the future and success of Dyn. So here's some advice. Everybody needs to be in sync and bought in. Your CTO needs to embrace sales. Your sales leadership needs to embrace your product and technology leadership. There's always a finance struggle with sales. What are the quota models? What are the comp plans? They need to be in complete alignment. Everybody needs to be goal-oriented towards a unique and specific set of KPIs for your company. What are you trying to build? And everybody needs to be aligned. You need to set this direction and conviction from the top. The best leaders make sure there's money in the bank and that they build a great team. The key to this is good leadership, good communication, clarity of focus, clarity of vision, and clarity of the bottoms-up execution plan required to take your company to the next level. With all that said, you can't ignore company culture. If you're a very, very deeply technical company, and all of a sudden now you're starting to build a sales culture, or vice versa, you have a very strong sales and customer competency, and you're just starting to harden your data science, your AI, your deep tech investments, you need to respect one another. You need to hold true and make sure that you realize that culture is a personification of your brand and vice versa. and need to take that to the market. The buy-in also has to be long game. I've seen so many startups have fits and starts and failed attempts at building a sales and go-to-market strategy and apparatus by just simply not having the tenacity, conviction to play the long game when it comes to company building. Building a sales and customer DNA is a forever commitment. Results don't always come overnight, and as we all know, startups are no straight line. But if there's executive buy-in from the very top and across all of senior management, you will be a big success.